I know when I said in a previous video that I was basically kind of emotionally done with The Walking Dead, and I made an apathy video about it. I was like, yeah, I have no emotional investment in The Walking Dead, but I finished the most recent season of Daryl Dixon, season three. I thought I'd do a quick review because I felt like, wow, this might actually be the worst season of The Walking Dead television that I've seen, at least with a main character. And, I sometimes forget about Tales of the Walking Dead, which is probably the worst thing. And World Beyond was pretty bad too. I think that might be the worst show amongst them all. But this season of Daryl Dixon is easily the worst season of this Daryl Dixon spinoff show. And it's the worst season that Daryl Dixon is featured in, besides maybe season 8 of The Walking Dead. Uh, the story takes place directly after, the season 2, where it's basically okay. Daryl and Carol are leaving France. They travel through tunnels. And I made my review about this. I don't know how they leave through tunnels and end up from France to England. That's miles of land you got to get through. I don't get how they just went through tunnels and got there, but fuck if I know what a map is. And so they leave the Cardrone, the French Negan guy, behind to suffer in a bunch of bat shit. And they make it to England. They see the last man in England because they didn't want to rip off 28 Days Later, so they had Stephen Merchant be the last man on Earth, or the last man in England, talking about how England fell so fast. It's just a big like let's hate on England because of how bad it sucks. Which I don't blame you, but also I don't care. If you hate England so bad, go there. Go there and tell them to to themselves. It's whatever. I don't really give a fuck about their social commentary in terms of how bad or how problematic England was or something. I don't know. That's probably what that ended up being. Stephen Merchant dies. It becomes a zombie because they can only afford him for one episode. Then they end up in Spain because they were sailing a boat. And since now, I remember going back and rewatching season 10 of the main Walking Dead show. And Carol, after the Whisperers kill Henry, Carol goes on a boat to go fishing to get away from everybody else. She was out there for a couple months too. They were explicitly saying how she worked on a boat. But apparently, she ain't know what to do on a boat in this show. She doesn't remember any of that shit for this show, apparently. Now, I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. But that's what I remember, is she was kind of lost on it. She didn't know what to fucking do. And so the ship crashes. They land in Spain. There's these guys that are there with a bunch of like skeleton, like skulls of animals that they wear as like masks and helmets, which looks kind of cool. I was like, oh, I wonder what that's about. Then they end up crossing paths with a young couple. That Carol's like, aw, a young couple. Let's help them. They're in danger. And Daryl's like, we need to go home. We need to go home. And I'm like, yeah, listen to Daryl. I want you to go home. I don't want to be in Europe no more. I want Daryl to reunite with Rick. I want Daryl to reunite with the old group. And that way we can finally conclude this stupid franchise and start over and reboot the franchise. But no, we got to do another season of filler. We got to continue making useless content that nobody watches and nobody really understands. Even myself, I don't quite understand the purpose behind making a show like this. I don't understand why they keep doing it. So they come across this Spanish village. I don't remember the name of it, but they have this thing called La Ofrenda, which is basically Handmaid's Tale. They offer up women to a bigger community to repopulate the earth. There was a thing where a bigger community would come in, El Khazar or something like that, and they would breed with women. They would be like, hey, we'll pick some of your youngest women or your best suited women, and then we will repopulate the earth with them. And they were playing it off as this like Hunger Games meets Handmaid's Tale. Like, oh, we're oppressed by this group because they take our women. And Carol starts to be an intersectional feminist bitch trying to call it out and be like, oh, how do you let your women be taken like this? You know, it's weird to think this, but maybe the other, community is trading goods with them, arms to protect themselves, food to feed the people. Maybe there's a good trade behind that. Maybe their life isn't so terrible. We find out that like the princess of Spain or the prince of Spain who takes a girl from the ofrenda, apparently she's a lesbian, so she doesn't want to be married to this guy. Oh, the oppression. The pearl clutching and the oppression. Apparently she had a relationship with this obvious lesbian cowboy hat wearing chick that I couldn't be bothered to remember the name of. They have a lesbian scene, and I'm just like, who are these characters? Why do I care? When is Daryl going to go home? Carol falls in love with the guy that's taking care of her for a little bit. We find out character development around him. The couple that Carol and Daryl save were trying to run away from La Ofrenda because their relationship was forbidden or something. There was a rivalry between the boy's father, who Carol falls in love with, and the girl's uncle, who ran the community. Apparently there was a rivalry going on, that which we later find out was blackmail. The guy who runs the community, who starts off pretty based and then ends up being a villain, was blackmailing the boy's father because the father was hiding an old secret about his mom being killed in a terrorist act prior to the outbreak of the undead. It was very bizarre and superficial and left me feeling very unsatisfied. Doesn't really matter to me. The groups betray the leader and they try to imprison him, and they're like, we're standing up to the oppression of Alcazar. Oh, by the way, those guys that were wearing the animal skulls, they're a bunch of they're called primivitos. I'm not a Spanish speaker, but I probably should be. But the primivitos, they're just a bunch of dicks. They're just a bunch of wildling dicks out in the forests, trying to tear down civilization because they got FOMO. They're jealous. They're jelly of people with running water and food. So they're like, we don't want people to be living with civilizations now. We want to be out here with the zombies. We want to be out here destroying shit. So they're just a bunch of useless dicks. They mostly get wiped out by the end. So there's no point to that. And I thought it was probably one of the coolest things they could have played with. Nah, no explanation really. There's one episode, like, of the 7 episodes, it was like episode 6, where Daryl randomly comes across a village of lepers. So, let me explain this for you. The girl that Carol and Daryl run into, part of that couple, trades herself to save another girl from La Ofrenda, kind of like Katniss stepping in for her sister and, going as tribute. And Daryl is going to rescue her from El Alcazar, right? To bring her back to her community. So Daryl goes off on this daring mission to go do that. Meanwhile, Carol, fucking does nothing. And so on his way to go save her, Daryl comes across a village in the middle of the desert full of lepers. Now, these people need help. They need water. So he goes on a interesting but pointless and useless side quest, which this entire show is a fucking side quest. Every episode is a side quest on a bigger, gigantic plot of a side quest. So he helps these people overcome a group that is threatening them and stealing their water. So he brings them their water back, and he drinks from the same water canteens as these leper people, and Daryl is unaffected. He doesn't get leprosy. Unaffected. What was the point? I don't know. I don't know if any of those characters are coming back. It was a bizarre, random episode, which I believe they filmed prior to having a script written for this season. That's just my opinion. Otherwise, they've been holding on to this thing for a year. And I'm just like, why? Why? I don't get the Walking Dead universe anymore. I really don't. But Daryl goes out and he goes to El Alcazar to save what's her name, right? This is the part that really bothers me. This is why I would make a video. I normally wouldn't make a video like this. I wouldn't care. I'm done. I've moved on. I only watch it so I can see the story end, right? That's where I'm at now. I don't really care about making reviews. I don't really care about the content. I just want to see the story end. And this is what bothers me. This is why I think it's the worst season. Is Daryl goes to El Alcazar, right? And when he goes there to save this girl, she is living lavishly. The El Alcazar is a temple, a castle. You know, it's got all the rich people, all the famous people. It's got royalty. It's got all these motherfuckers are stringing up walkers, dead humans, as puppets for their puppet show. They are completely safe and confident that basically they won't be affected. The place is heavily guarded and it's heavily fortified. It's got a lot of materials. It's got a lot of resources. But because these women are taken from their villages to be married to men who, by the way, treat them well, show them respect, and they do it in a way that makes it seem like it's taken, like it's a bunch of slave trading, right? And that they're being oppressed by the slave trade. It's like you are finding a mate. You are finding somebody who appreciates you and loves you, and you're calling him a rapist. And Daryl comes in, and Daryl he saves this girl who this girl. How do I explain this? When she gets matched with a guy, with this like prince, this charming prince guy, she immediately thinks that he's a dick and doesn't want to be involved. So she tries to kill him, and then he tries to kill her in response. It's like, why did you trick me? Why are you trying to kill me? And Daryl cold-bloodedly slits his fucking throat. And I'm like, what did this guy ever do? What did he do wrong? And then Daryl proceeds to free the women. I don't even know if you can call it freeing them. Like, he takes them from a fucking castle, from a rich and fulfilling and resource-filled castle, and burns it to the fucking ground. Doesn't even take the resources, doesn't take the food, doesn't take the cattle or whatever. Just kills all the rich elitists, because that's what this is really about. It's a message. It's like, oh, we got to free the women from Handmaid's Tale because all women apparently are lesbians that don't want to be matched up with a man during the apocalypse to live lavishly in a fucking castle instead of, I don't know, the swamp ass, desert or the forest where you can be eaten alive by ravenous zombies at any point. I just didn't understand why they would do that until I realized, oh yeah, that's identity politics. They're sending a message. Hey, we should tear down things that are great, even if we perceive them as evil. It's like, you could have overrun the castle. You could have overthrown the prince and killed him, which they did, without destroying the entire place, without destroying the entire community to send a message. I just thought, man, it's retarded. It's fucking retarded. But yeah, I don't think anybody gives a shit about this show anymore. And I certainly don't. Oh, the Cadron guy. I'm so tired of all the European shit. It's cool and all, but I'm done with it. And they're about to set up a boat to sail back to the United States. Then the boat blows up, and we're going to get another season of Daryl Dixon. I guess I'll see y'all next year.